All right, June 17th, school committee come to order. Let's salute the flag. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, based on my agenda here, we're going to do a roll call first. Thank you.
Mr. Barrows?
Here.
Mrs. Cardillo?
Here.
Mr. D'Onofrio?
Present.
Mr. Wonka? Here. Mr. McLaughlin?
Yep.
Mr. Beasley?
Here.
Mr. Parker?
Present.
Mr. Abrazosi?
Here, 8 members present, we have a quorum. Roman numeral 1, reading of the records.
We waive the reading except as written.
Second motion?
Motion made and seconded to waive the reading of the records and accept them as written. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Roman numeral 2, report of the superintendent, Mrs. Gauthier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 1 is an update from the Assistant Superintendent of Schools of Business Affairs on the fiscal status of the school department. Mr. Obremski?
Rather than provide the school committee with a burn rate this month, we decided to give you a fiscal overview of the entire fiscal 19 budget, what we received from the city, what we received in additional revenue in November after we were able to get the additional Chapter 70 money, and where we're at with spending for the entire fiscal year, where there's only about 2 weeks left in the fiscal year at this point, so we decided to give an update on where we are. And I did pass out a PowerPoint to all of you, and it's on there on the screen. I do apologize, it's not a screen for the audience. I'm sorry about that. Try to be as brief as possible. But the original school budget for fiscal year 19 was $76,680,955. And then we had a special education transportation budget of $4.7 million. So the original school budget passed last June by the city council was $81,380,955. The next slide. We had a net minimum contribution from the city. This is before the additional $6.5 million and then the additional $2.5 million. But the original from the city was $28,814,865, which at that time would have been about 30% of the budget. Then you get state aid or Chapter 70 money, and this is again before the additional $2.5 million of $66,440,961, which gave us which that's about 69% of the budget. That gave us a total net school spending of $95,255,826. Then you have the chargebacks that a lot of you are familiar with, especially the school committee members. I'll go into more detail with that on the next few pages. Of $25,074,871. Those are legitimate costs the city has with helping to run the school department. So you have a school operating budget of $70,180,955. Then with the help of the mayor and the city council, it gave us an additional appropriation up front in our budget of $6.5 million, making the total budget passed in June $76,680,955. Then, you know, in early November, we had the additional funding that was passed by the state when the state passed the budget late July 31st into the early hours of August 1st. We were able to receive that additional funding in November of $2,515,109, making the whole amended budget, not including special ed transportation, of $79,196,064. Now I'll go into the chargebacks briefly. We pay for all the school nurses, a little bit over $1 million for the 16 nurses we have, a quarter of the salary of the Board of Health Director, quarter of the salary of the Clerk of the Board of Health. We pay a little bit over 40%, almost 41% of the operating budget in the Auditor's Office, the Budget Office, the Treasurer's. That does not include the Collector's Office, Purchasing Department, and the Personnel Department. We pay for the use of Everett Stadium, $46,000. All the health insurance for our employees, which this year was $9.5 million. Health insurance for our retired teachers, which comes from the cherry sheet, which it comes out in January of every year, and came out in January of 2018, it would have came out. $2,051,465. All the city retirement For the secretaries, the custodians, and the paraprofessionals that are in city retirement, $1,748,977. We also paid for the charter school tuition, less the reimbursement. And last year, we had 791 students in charter school for fiscal 19. And the net gain for the city, for the school department and charges was $8,610,490. The actual amount of the tuition was $9,484,517. Then you get some reimbursement from the state, $874,027. That makes it a little bit over $8.6 million. We pay workman's compensation, $210,000 to the city, life insurance, $35,000, Medicare for all our employees, $632,000, the unemployment costs for anyone that we lay off each year, $220,000, insurance on the school buildings at $279,000, and the two school resource offices located here at the high school, a little bit over $95,000. So the total chargeback for fiscal year 19 was $25,074,871. Then, as you know, in November, after going back and forth with the mayor and the city government graciously gave us, on the next couple of slides, there was some additional Chapter 70 money. The total net there in the last column is $976,072. This is as of August 1st. Then they gave money for the low-income students. Those are the individuals that previously were on free and reduced lunch, and a lot of the ELL population, $1,523,027. Then there was some minor changes in the tuition reimbursement and the tuition assessments. We actually lost some money in the charter school reimbursement, $67,000, but we gained in the assessments, $83,476. So the total net gain we did receive, and we did get from the city an additional appropriation in early November, $2,515,109. We also, our nurses, our guidance counselors, our EBA therapists, our speech, OT, and PT individuals do some random moment time studies for Medicare and Medicaid, and we're able to bring into the city of Everett this year. We did not get this revenue. This was included in the $6.5 million and the $2.5 million. So we actually got $9 million in total, in addition from the city. We did not get this $1.3 million. We had an agreement previously that the city would get to keep that $1.3 million. So that went into the general fund in fiscal, it will all go in before June 30th. It's all not in there yet, but it'll all be deposited in the general fund by the end of the fiscal year, a little bit over $1.3 million. Then out of the additional, a little bit over $2.5 million that we got in November, we hired approximately 85 employees we hired, and their total salaries, because they were all prorated, because they weren't working the whole year, we spent $2,286,999 out of that $2.5 million. So as you can see, we'll be returning about $214,000 of that money to the city at the end of the fiscal year. And on the next couple of pages, we were able to hire an additional 85 individuals with the money we received with the help of Sal DiDomenico, Joe McGonigal, Mayor Carlo DiMarino, and the city councilors in early November. And this helped our students in Everett by reducing class size, adding an additional amount of ELL teachers. We hired some additional custodians and some additional house workers with that money. But on the next page, I feel very comfortable at this point in the school year with a little less than 2 weeks that we now have all our, if you'll be voting on it later in the meeting, if you do vote on it, we will have all our collective bargaining agreements settled for this fiscal year that we're presently in. A couple settled for next year and a few more to settle for next year and the year after. But out of this fiscal budget that we're in, fiscal year 19, even with giving the raises and the money that we gave out, we're still going to return to the city, and this is the first time in my memory, and I've been here 30 years, that we'll be returning approximately $2 million to the general fund out of the school department money for this fiscal year. We do meet all the net school spending requirements because the city gave us the additional $6.5 million up front, so there's no problem with the city meeting the net school spending. And part of the reason we didn't spend all the money is when you go looking for teachers in November, in December, there's not a lot of teachers available that we need. That's why this year, the principals and the directors are already starting to interview. We know we have the additional $6.5 million. They're already starting to interview for next year. We'll bring those individuals on board ASAP. And as soon as the state budget gets settled, or we feel comfortable that it's going to get settled, I've been talking to Sal DiDomenico almost every day, and Joe McGonigal. We will bring a lot of those individuals that just got laid off as of Friday. We will bring those individuals back. Mrs. Gothi will send them recall letters as soon as possible. So I can't promise it's going to be next week. Hopefully it'll be the week after, but we will be sending those letters out to the individuals so we can recall them, because we laid off approximately 196 individuals last Friday. We'll try to bring those individuals back, because almost all of them are quality individuals. We want to bring them back, and we don't want to lose them to another school district. But I do feel comfortable at this point. I've had conversations with the mayor and the chief financial officer, Mr. Demas, that we will be returning approximately $2 million at the end of this fiscal year to the city and going into the general fund. Thank you.
Mr. Parker.
So, Mr. Bremski, so that's returning $2 million in addition to the $1.3 million in Medicaid reimbursement?
That's correct.
Okay, so basically, we're returning $3.3 million.
That's correct, Mr.
Okay.
Parker.
So, you know, people are hung up on fiscal year 18. We had some financial issues, and you keep on hearing about that. And here we are, fiscal year 19, basically returning $3.3 million. So the criticisms that we saw in fiscal year 18, we responded. We put some better checks and balances in. And here we are, as a result, returning money back to the school system. Fiscal year 20 is ahead of us. We think we have a sound budget. There's been a lot of collaboration over the past year between the school department, school committee, and City Hall. So, you know, my appeal to the public, please, put fiscal year 18 here behind us. Let's celebrate fiscal 19, and let's do it again in fiscal year 20. Congratulations to the administration. I thank you, and I'm sure the taxpayers appreciate it too.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Barrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bransky, we are getting, the City Council voted to appropriate for fiscal year 20, $6.5 million, correct?
That's above net school
That's
spending.
above net school spending.
Yes, that's correct.
So technically, we will be getting about $3 million from the City Council because you are giving back $3 million for FY19.
Well,
I know
just
that,
so you know.
I know that
yeah.
the count
Yeah.
doesn't go that way, but technically that's what it is.
Yeah, but by city charter now, I believe, whatever goes into the general, whatever is left at the end of the year and ends up as free cash come late September, early October, by the time it gets certified. Last year, I believe it was about 10 million, if I remember correctly. By city charter now, half of that has to go to stabilization fund. So they can't give it all back, but technically, you could argue that point that that $1.3 million in Medicaid money they kept, and we're returning $2 million, so out of the $6.5 million, they're getting $3.5 million back, and if any additional Chapter 70 money comes in, we have promised them that we would not come back for that unless it goes above $6.5 million, which I don't expect, because we would have to come back for it to meet net school spending.
Right. Okay, just want to make sure that's
Yep.
clear, that everyone knows. So everyone brag that the city is giving us $6.5 million, which I'm very grateful for it, and I believe we all are.
Right.
But it's important to publicly emphasize these over $3 million
Right.
that's going back to the general funding for the city for this current fiscal year.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Ms. Cardello.
Thank you. We know you're a numbers guy, and I know you've got two people inside of you that really give you a lot of input as well as Mr. Demas and the mayor and the finance committee. And I have to say, I think it's so admirable that you've been able to really crunch the numbers the way you have to get us to where we are, and to appease the city government, because they don't like it when we have to keep coming back for more, especially in this financial climate that we're in. So having said that, I just, again, want to thank the three of you for all your collaboration and working so hard on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I do think that we were a little more careful this year, also after what happened in fiscal year 18, and 18. We didn't want that to happen again, so we were a little more careful. I mean, obviously, the teachers and the paraprofessionals and the administrators here, we do need more classroom teachers. That's the #1 priority to improve our student learning. So everyone knows that we're working diligently. We put a great proposal together with that the principals, not Mrs. Gothi and Mr. Shaw and myself, but the principals presented to the mayor. They also presented to the school finance review commission. That comes to a little bit over $4.1 million to hire these additional staff members for next year, because the whole goal is to improve student learning in the city. That's the whole goal.
Mr. McLaughlin.
To be a little voice of dissent, we're going to turn back several $1 million. And I think a couple of weeks ago, we made cuts to fund that little Stasi group, the 9 guys that are going to go chase students. Can we put, one was paving the Parlin parking lot, and can we use that money to get that work done?
Well, I have had conversations with Mayor DiMaria and Mr. Demas over the last 2 weeks. We are repaving the entire parking lot at the Powell Inn. That's going to be paid for out of a CI capital improvement money that's left over from a few years ago. As you know, most of you know, we did over the front, so there's still money left, so that's not going to be paid for us by any of our money, Mr. McLaughlin. And I did have a conversation with the mayor. I know we said we were not going to paint any schools. We are going to paint the Madeline English out of this year's money, and the mayor and Mr. Demas are perfectly fine with that, because it wasn't technically budgeted for, but the money is still left in the line items, because a lot of that school was one of the ones in one of the worst conditions, even though it was only painted a couple of years ago. And we are going to paint the Powell Inn ourselves. We did have a conversation with Mr. Bond, and a lot of these are on the agenda
Yeah,
later,
it's on
so
the
I don't want to
agenda.
talk all about them.
Right.
But Mr. Bond felt comfortable that he could handle it manpower of painting 1 school ourselves, but not 2. So we are using some of the money, and we are putting a big push into technology, getting more Chromebooks, and getting the technology that we need for the 2 new classrooms we're going to add to CTE up here. And a lot of that's going to be paid for out of this budget, Mr. McLaughlin.
Oh, yeah, but it just seems like rather than give it back, we should buy it. Buy those Chromebooks or
Well,
use
that's
it.
part of what that's part of what we are doing, Mr. McLaughlin. We're buying them for all 8th graders, and we are upgrading what we believe needs to be upgraded. As a matter of fact, a lot of the computers, I think it was Mr. Parker, but I may be wrong, asked us to look into leasing them at one point at one of the meetings. Maybe it wasn't Mr. Parker, it might have been somebody. Mr. D'Onofrio, I'm sorry, Mr. D'Onofrio, I apologize. So we are going to lease them. We are going to lease them.
We are going
Yeah,
to.
we're going to a
That's
lease program.
perfect. I love that idea.
And we're spending on identified need, not perceived need. So that makes all the difference in the world. If you know you need something, then you budget it and you have the appropriate money for it. But it's not on perceived need. So we've done a much better job with identifying need.
Anyone else? Mr. D'Onofrio.
Yeah, and just so you know, the leasing part of it works, because if anything happens during the lease period, we're good. We're good to go till the end of the lease, and then you can return those. We do it all day long in the bank. At the end of the lease, 36 months, I'm assuming we got it for? At the end of the 36 months, whatever it is, we can trade them back in and extend that lease. So I think it's a great idea. Just go ahead, Mr.
Mr. Abraze, through you to Mr. D'Onofrio.
Go ahead.
We also have the option on the leasing of buying them
as a buyout.
each for $1 at the
Oh,
end of the
even
lease. So
better.
we'll see where we are at that point in time, Mr. D'Onofrio. We'll budget with technology.
Excellent.
Because a lot of times what happens is they upgrade the software, and you're not able to use the software with the computers every 3 or 4 years, so it may not be worth buying, but we'll look at that 3 years down the road.
Oh, you're bargain better than me, 36 years in banking.
Anyone else? From the chair, I just want, my understanding is that when we amended the budget, I mean, we're not, it appears we're giving back money, but we're not, it's got nothing to do, we're not going to lose any manpower or situations like that. So, over the, when Mr. Parker was talking about 2018 fiscal year, I used to think numbers don't lie, but there were all sorts of presentations that went back and forth about when we were trying to get money, but bottom line is, we're returning money. And Mr. Abramsky, you've been here 30 years, and that's never happened before, from what you're saying.
Not to my knowledge. I mean, it possibly could have, but not to my knowledge.
Okay,
And
well-
I've been in this job 13 years.
Very good. Well, let's end on that note. So I take it this is for informational purposes?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
So, speaking of longevity, I've been in this position for 17 years. I served 10 years on the city council for a total of 27. Never in 27 years has a department returned $2 million. Hang your hats.
Good. Informational purposes, correct? Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
Okay. Item number 2 is the presentation of the Gold Apple Awards. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mrs. Gaudier. I'm honored tonight to present to the community and to the committee those Golden Apple nominees from the Everett Public Schools. The purpose of the Golden Apple Award is to recognize an outstanding contribution of time, talent, or effort to the Everett Public Schools by an employee. Mrs. Gaudier, if you could please join me in recognizing
Certainly.
these fine, outstanding teachers and employees of the Everett Public Schools. First up, representing the Adams School, nominated by Ms. Laurie Stokes and staff, Sandra Grogan. The Adams School would like to nominate Sandra Grogan, our custodian, for a Gold Apple Award because the school will not be the same as she takes the next step into retirement. We will miss so many things about her kind presence within our school, and she will truly be missed. The students refer to her as Miss Sandy and love her cheerful greeting of, "Hi kids, what are you up to?" Her love of the school and its students is pure and genuine. We welcome Miss Sandy Smile to visit us at any time, and we wish her the best in everything in her retirement. Congratulations. Next up, representing the Devon School, Nicholas Esterbrook. Nicholas was nominated by Dr. Brian Wallace, the principal of the Devon School. Nicholas Esterbrook has made an immediate and significant impact at the Devon School with his presence and energy. He is a remarkable individual and will most certainly continue to enhance the reputation of the Everett Public Schools, and particularly the Devon School. Mr. Esterbrook has continually proven himself to be an effective paraprofessional. However, it is rare that an individual's effectiveness immediately impacts an entire school. Mr. Esterbrook engages all students and faculty regularly. He actively promotes a positive school culture, bringing an energy and enthusiasm to the building every day. Congratulations, Nicholas. Also representing the Devon School and nominated by Dr. Brian Wallace, Martin Benante. Martin. Mr. Benante has created strong relationships with the faculty and students here at the Devons. Marty has a thorough understanding of our children's needs and has connected with many students who otherwise struggle to manage and cope on a daily basis. Marty is professional, approachable, and committed to his work. Marty's quiet, soft-spoken, and attentive demeanor comforts students during times of crisis and despair. He goes above and beyond his assigned duties, and his dedication to the Devon School is admirable. Mr. Benante's commitment to our building, staff, and students plays a major role in supporting the educational efforts of our program and is extremely impactful. Congratulations. Next up, nominated by Mr. Michael McLucas for the English School, Ms. Linda Nazaro. I would like to nominate Mrs. Nazaro because of her dedication and professionalism. Ms. Nazaro is typically the first person to arrive at work each morning. She greets everyone with her pleasant personality and conducts daily office work with expertise and reliability. She is clearly someone who helps make the Madeline English School a special place. Congratulations. Also representing the English School, nominated by Mr. Bruce Jaffe, Ms. Danielle Nadeau. Danielle is our go-to person in the 8th grade. She keeps us up to date with the many tasks we have to do. She reminds us of upcoming dates and chores that are part of our lives. Danielle makes our day run smoothly thanks to her organizational skills. Danielle Nadeau's commitment and dedication to her students, colleagues, and the English school community is evident each and every day. She is truly deserving of this award. Congratulations, Danielle. Next up, representing the Cavarian School, nominated by Mr. Keith Spencer, Kristen DeCourcy. Kristen is one of the most dedicated teachers in our community who offers her time and talents on so many levels outside of the classroom. Not only is she an amazing history teacher who brings life to the ancient civilizations of our world, but she also fully embraces her role as a literacy teacher as well. She engages her students with vocabulary, reading, and writing strategies that reinforce their importance across all curriculum. Her lessons also promote practices and provide opportunities to build community and broaden the social emotional development of her students. Along with being an active member of the Cavarian Parent Council, she also creates and coordinates social media posts with school administrators, developing beautiful image coupled with helpful information that is reaching nearly 1,000 parents and guardians. Congratulations, Kristen. Also representing the Cavarian School, nominated by Elaine Zano and Gail Mastrocola, Jennifer Foley. Ms. Foley began teaching in the Everett Public Schools in 2001. She joined the Cavarian staff as a first grade teacher in 2008. Ms. Foley strives to be the best she can be, not only for her students she teaches, but also as a role model for our building. She helps teachers analyze data and prepare for ELA instruction. She is a teacher whose passion for teaching is evident in the way she makes learning a fun and positive experience for her students. Ms. Foley treats each one of her students with great dignity and respect. She has helped us create a positive environment that is very child-centered and focuses on building positive self-esteem through high standards and well-designed instruction. Ms. Foley is dedicated and compassionate. Her ability to listen responsively to our students and staff has contributed to the respect she is granted by those who work with her. Congratulations, Jen. Representing Everett High School and nominated by Linda Maloney, Kerry Rimboli, Kathy Fossey, and Ray Sanristil, Despina Makritis. Des has been a tremendous employee of the Everett Public Schools for over 26 years. Her extremely positive attitude shines through in everything she does. From teaching her students and instilling them the love of cooking to greeting and serving all of the many functions she coordinates, she is a truly wonderful asset to Everett High School. Des is a kind and caring person who is always there to help whenever needed. She is retiring this year and will be truly a void in the culinary arts department. She will be hard to replace. We wish her a good health and happiness. She will be missed. Congratulations, Des. Also representing Everett High School, nominated by Leonora Tumblin, Ms. Kathy Fossey. Welcoming is one of the first emotions you feel when you enter Everett High School main office. It is because you are usually greeted by Kathy Fossey, who is seated or standing at her desk. Kathy's beautiful, warm, bright smile and openness and caring ways are always there to be helpful to answer a question, call a student, or a million other tasks that she does with calm and graceful manner. As Kathy answers the phone, helps a student, or writes on her to-do list all at the same time, during her mornings, she is always polite, gracious, and calm. She has great interpersonal working skills which are observed by all her co-workers. She is well-liked and respected by students, teachers, and administrators. In summary, Kathy Fossey's personality makes the EHS main office a pleasant, cheerful, helpful environment to all who visit. Congratulations, Kathy. Representing the Lafayette School, nominated by Mr. John Obremski and Mr. Paolo Lambrescia, Mrs. Patricia Clark. Mrs. Clark has worked in the Everett Public Schools since 1993. Each day she works with children in first grade, teaching them letter recognition, phonics, blending, and fluency. She helps them learn to do math and learn their basic facts. Her classroom is not just a place for children to learn the basics. It is a literacy center where children are immersed in reading and math strategies. The children she works with always have smiles on their faces and are excited to learn. This happens because of the environment Mrs. Clark creates. However, her work does not end with the children. She's a veteran teacher that new teachers can rely on for advice and help in and out of the classroom. Congratulations, Mrs. Clark. Also representing the Lafayette School, nominated by Mr. John Obremski and Mr. Paolo Lambrescia, Mrs. Maria Keefe. Mrs. Keefe has worked in the Everett Public Schools since 2006. Mrs. Keefe is currently the guidance counselor at the Lafayette School, and she works tirelessly to support 950 students each day. She arrives early each day to greet the children in the CAF as they enter the building. Many students rely on Mrs. Keefe to be the first person they see every day as they enter. Throughout the day, she conducts social skills groups, works with students having academic struggles, or is often just there to listen. If you are looking for Mrs. Keefe, you will find her working with students throughout the building, even long past the work day. She understands that sometimes a smile and a kind word goes a long way with children and adults alike. Congratulations, Mrs. Keefe. Representing the Parlin School, nominated by Mrs. Noel Finn, Lauren Melanson. Ms. Melanson is a hardworking and caring teacher who brings perfection to every aspect of her job. She has organized everything in her classroom for maximum efficiency and cleanliness, while also creating a beautiful, safe, and welcoming space for students so that they can all feel like this is their home away from home. Her ability to differentiate and modify work in all content areas in order to meet the needs of all learners is evident. Her funny sense of humor and engaging lessons keep students on task, and they know what high expectation the teacher has for them. It has been a pleasure and an honor to co-teach and share a room with her this year. Congratulations. And I just want to recognize Miss Danielle Gallagher, a custodian at the Parlin School, who was unable to attend tonight. She was nominated by Mrs. Jacqueline Cialone and Mrs. Shannon Doherty. So congratulations, Danielle. Representing tonight the Webster School, nominated by Mrs. Kathleen Magliozzi, Christine Chisholm. Ms. Chisholm's classroom is an environment of motivation and innovation filled with loving understanding. Her expectations for each and every student are to meet them where they are and further their goals as well. It can be said that Ms. Chisholm is on from the moment she arrives until the day has ended, often working on new projects while at home. She diligently provides new and varied opportunities for students to become successful. Ms. Chisholm is one of the most intentional teachers I've ever had the pleasure to work with. Congratulations. Also representing the Webster School and nominated by Mrs. Denise Hanlon, Jessica Squires. Ms. Squires is an extraordinary teacher. The Webster School is lucky to have a musical playwright in our midst. Ms. Squires has written and produced songs and dialogue for the Living Museum in November. She has also written, directed, and produced The Amazing Road to the American Revolution, which plays every spring at the Webster School. Ms. Squires also encouraged positive behavior by incorporating monthly virtues. Children are given examples of how they can display the virtues. Ms. Squires is always patient, wise, and present for our Webster School families. She personifies kindness, which is the goal of all of us here at the Webster. We are lucky to have Ms. Squires at the Webster School. Congratulations. Being recognized for the Webster Extension Preschool, nominated by Mrs. Michelle Bosco, Brooke Pawalis. Ms. Brooke is a pre-K-3 teacher at the Webster School Extension. Her classroom is an integrated classroom, which is comprised of both general education and special education students. Ms. Brooke is extremely patient, as well as dedicated and compassionate about teaching young students. She goes above and beyond on a daily basis to meet the needs of every student in her classroom. She provides a safe, loving, and fun environment in which all students can thrive. She has a powerful, positive impact on the students. The Webster School Extension is very fortunate to have Ms. Brooke. Congratulations. Representing the Whittier School tonight, nominated by Deanna Griffin and Marissa Steinberg, Elizabeth Denish. Beth is a passionate educator whose creativity is evident by stepping into her classroom. Her students are always engaged in hands-on activities and projects that enhance their learning. Beth is constantly challenging her third graders and holds them to high standards. The quality I admire most about Beth is how caring she is towards her students. She is generous and shows sincere interest in each child, making them feel special and happy to be in school. Beth is an exceptional teaching, making her more powerful, more than deserving of this award. Sorry. Thank you. And finally, representing the Whittier School, nominated by Mr. David Brady, Krista Ippolito. Krista Ippolito is an English language learner teacher at the Whittier School. Krista is a hardworking, dedicated teacher that instills confidence in all of her students. Krista sets high expectations for all students. She creates an atmosphere where students feel confident to take a chance. Krista is exceptional when it comes to differentiating instruction for her diverse population of students. Krista is always looking out for the best interest of all the students at the Whittier School. Congratulations, Krista. And how about a nice round of applause for all the Golden Apple winners recognized here this evening. Congratulations to you all, and thank you for coming tonight.
Mr.
Have a great
Chairman?
night.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
They adjourn.
before they leave, I'd like
Hold on
to,
one second.
I'd like to extend congratulations to Christine Chisholm, who just had her wedding last Saturday. So all the best to you, Christine.
Also, Mr. Chairman, I just want to make sure that I want to thank all of you, but also the parents and the family members who are here present, who share you with us. We spend most of the day with our students, so thank you to the family members and to all of you. And I want to say my special gratitude this evening to Mrs. McCready, who is leaving us. I should say that she's leaving the culinary department, but the culinary department will never leave her. So hope to see you back several times, and thank you for everything that you have done for our students, for the Everett High School, and for the Everett Public Schools. That we will not replace you. We will hire somebody else, but there is no way to replace you. So thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, I move for a
Parker.
5-minute recess, please.
Motion made and seconded for a 5-minute recess. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We are in recess. All right, school committee is back in session. We left off at
Number 3.
number 3, Mrs. Gauthier.
Item number 3 is a request to sign the memorandum of understanding between the Massachusetts Office of the Attorney General and the Everett Public Schools. I am requesting permission to bring Kathleen McCormick, the Director of Guidance, forward.
Make a motion to bring Ms.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to bring forth Ms. McCormick. Also, Mr. McLaughlin, did you move favorable action
Yes. And was
on
second.
the piece?
No, to bring her. He's second to bring her.
Oh, no, I thought you, okay. All right, so Ms. McCormick, welcome.
She's here.
She's here.
Good evening. The Everett Public Schools was approached by the Attorney General's office to enter into an agreement. It would be a 3-year contract for the Attorney General's office to obtain funding from the Sandy Hook Promise Foundation. It's a 4-part agreement. The first 2 parts would be assemblies for the students. One would be to teach the students how to help a student that isolates themselves or doesn't have any friends. And that would be 3 assemblies over a 3-year period for grades 6 through 12. The second assembly would be Say Something, and that's to teach students that if they see something on social media, how to tell an adult. The third part would be some training for the health department and the guidance staff to teach us a research-based suicide prevention program. And the fourth part would be on the Everett Public Schools party to have a club to prevent violence in the schools. And we wouldn't have to start a new club. We could implement the idea behind the Sandy Hook Promise into an existing club. So the Key Club or the Builders Club could build on some of the foundations that the Sandy Hook Promise Foundation would give us the money for. So they'd give the money to the Attorney General's office, and then we would benefit from the money. And it would be over 3 years that we would implement these things. So do you have questions? I would hope that you would vote for it because it provides us with assemblies for the students and additional training for staff.
I'll move favorable action.
Second.
This time on the accept.
Motion been made and seconded to favorable action on the request to sign the memo of understanding between Office of the Attorney General and the Everett Public Schools. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McCormick.
Thank you, Mrs. McCormick.
Item number 4 is the matter of electing a delegate for the Massachusetts Association of School Committees.
And
Mr. D'Onofrio.
I'll make a motion to elect Mr. Rila. He's been doing it for quite a long time, and we all spoke to him, and I believe Mr. Parker has a question before we nominate Mr. Rila, if I get a second.
Motion been made and seconded to elect Mr. Ela as the delegate to the Mass Association of School Committees. Mr. Parker.
No, I don't, I was going to second the motion, because I know he'd be disappointed if he wasn't the delegate.
He would. Good.
So
good
motion's
point.
been made and seconded to elect Mr. Ela as the delegate to the MASC. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. And that's, as Mr. D'Onofrio pointed out, that's not just because Mr. Ela isn't here. That's how we do things where I work. Whoever doesn't show up, you nominate them for positions.
And I also believe we have to nominate a backup in case he has an issue showing up. And I will make I'll nominate Mr. Marconi as a backup. I like that. Barra? Huh? Yeah? Sure?
Yeah, it's always, the backup is always the newest person alphabetically.
You got it. Hey,
He's got A and B covered,
I
so.
got that for a few years, so.
Second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded to make Mr. Barros as the alternate delegate to the MASC. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Unless
Ayes
he
have it, of
refuses.
course.
Thank you.
Mr. Barros doesn't want to speak.
It's an honor.
It really is. It really is, and I can tell how touched you are, Mr.
Welcome to the school. Welcome to the school committee.
He'll look good with a
Mr.
lampshade on his head at the
I'll
convention.
bump the stickers over to you.
Item number 5 is the matter of preschool enrollment and registration fee. Mr. Shaw.
Thank you, Mrs. Gauthier. I've been meeting over the last few months with Ms. Laurie Stokes, the head teacher at the Adams School, Michelle Bosco, the head teacher at the Webster Extension, Mr. Donahue, the director of special education, and Ms. Brittany Pulio, the educational team leader that services the preschool students. While we were reviewing the year, it became apparent that we wanted to make some changes, especially in the pre-K-3 program. The pre-K-3 program has some of the lowest attendance rates in the district. There are only 211 students serviced in pre-K-3, but they account for 3,579 days absent. They also account for 258 times tardy. The team feels that the 5-day week is too much for the 3-year-olds. We are proposing to offer for pre-K-3 the choice of a 3-day week or a 2-day week program. We feel that the shorter week will allow students to increase their attendance and create better attendance habits, and we will reap the benefits from that as the students get older. This is the students' first introduction to the formal school setting, and we feel they can really succeed in a 2 or a 3-day program. It would also give us the benefit of potentially servicing up to 150 additional students, because we have 8 pre-K classes, and if we had 20 more in each of those, it would come up to about 160 students. This is also in line with what our neighboring communities are offering for pre-K-3. For the pre-K-4 program, we are recommending keeping the full 5-day-a-week, half-day program. The students are a little older than this, the attendance rates are better, and this is truly the bridge to our kindergarten program where the students will be attending for 5 days a week. This structure will allow us to service all of the special education students that are enrolling, a number which is increasing tremendously. We currently have about 72 students referred from early intervention that need to be tested this summer to enter school in September. In comparison to that number, we had a total of 78 students throughout the entire year that we're currently enrolled in. So we had 72 already this summer, for this year coming up. We had 78 students from last summer to present time for this school year. So that number is getting out of sight. We also looked at the fees being charged by our neighboring communities for our pre-K programs. Malden charges $24.75 per day for a half-day program. Revere charges $15 per half-day. Medford charges almost $300 a month. We are proposing that we charge a one-time registration fee to students that are enrolling in the pre-K. It would be $100 for the 2-day-a-week program. It would be $150 one-time fee for the 3-day-a-week program, and $250 a one-time fee for the 5-day program. We feel by asking for a small financial commitment from families, it may help with increasing the attendance rates, which will in turn boost our academic success of our preschool programs. I don't know if anyone has any questions with regard to that.
Mr. Parker.
The only question I have is on the pre-K program, pre-K-3 program, just define what a day is, or
The half-day. It's a half-day program.
okay, so it's 4 or 5 hours?
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours, okay.
2.5 hours.
All right, so for the sake of argument, a day is defined as 2.5 hours?
Correct.
On both the 3 and the 4-year-olds?
Correct.
Okay, great.
There are some full-day pre-K programs for some of more severe special education students.
Understood.
But
Okay.
for the majority of our students, it's a half-day program for pre-K-3 and for pre-K-4.
Okay, great, thanks for clarifying.
Mr. Barrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Shaw, have we asked the parents, have we done any survey to see what would be the impact? What do they think about reducing from 5 to 3 days or 2 days?
We haven't done a full survey with parents. We've had some conversations with some parents, informal conversations. And some of the parents that they spoke with, I haven't personally spoken with them, but some of the parents that they've spoken with are okay with that. They think that it's okay. They think it's it's a lot. That's why the students are absent, not going for the full week. So I don't know that everyone will be pleased, quite honestly, but I think that the majority of people were okay that they talked to.
I would recommend, I'm not saying that, oh, we have to do, I'm not making a motion
Yeah.
for that, but I would recommend that whenever we change a program like this, that we talk to the parents, that we have a survey, so we have a backup saying 60% of the parents, 55% of the parents, 80% of the parents believe that these perhaps, I know that we're not going to please everyone,
Right.
but just for us, I mean, we have excellent administrators, I'm not saying anything that the administrators, just their perception. But I think it's always important to listen to our parents, listen to their concerns, and have a backup. Okay, we are changing the program, we talk to the parents, and 55%, 60%, or what have you, believe that it would be more beneficial for them based on their schedule, based on this, that would be more helpful. So I would ask you, or ask the administration to think about that for future
Sure.
change in programs. It's important.
Understandable.
Because
Yep.
if we don't listen to our parents, who are we going to listen to, right? And the second thing is, I believe $250 based on in a district that 80% of its students live at or below the poverty level, it's a little too much. Perhaps $200 would.
Whatever the will of
be-
the board is, that's the figure that we came up with as a committee.
I mean, I'm not saying that all of our parents live at the poverty level, but I know many of them who do. And I think $250 would touch their budget. So perhaps 100, 150, and 200 would be something that is more manageable. $50 perhaps for us is not something that would be that huge difference, but for a lot of parents, especially who have 2 or 3 kids, is.
That's right. Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Shaw, go ahead.
I agree wholeheartedly with you, and we struggled. We went from 200 to 250 back and forth on a number of different occasions. And it was also one of the reasons, because it is a financial hardship for some families to do. That's why we wanted to come now and talk to everybody now so that we can inform people now, so that we're not informing them in September that you all of a sudden have to come up with $150, $200. So this will give some ample time to, whether it's $200 or $250, to save some money up for that. That's why we wanted to come nice and early for that.
Ms. Cardello.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say, I've been dealing with pre-K 3 and pre-K 4 on a personal level for the last 2 years, and I know that attendance is terrible in pre-K 3. 5 days is a lot. It's only 2.5 hours, and some parents have other children in school, and they're running back and forth to the school too many times a day. And the children are very young, and some children are not trained at that point. And up till now, we've been having staff changing diapers, which I'm not sure is really necessary, other than in situations where it cannot be helped. That's a lot to ask of people in the climate we live in today. And as far as the money, if you give it away for free, people don't appreciate it, they take advantage. If you charge them a fee, they will show up, and they will be there. And one more thing, because we all know this happens, they walk over the line and register their children under an Everett address, whether it's called a caregiver or if it's an aunt, whoever it is that lives in Everett, because we're free. And that is a burden to our system, it's a burden to our teachers, as well as our students. We have a lot of EL students that need that special care at age 3 and 4, so that by the time they're going into kindergarten or first grade, they're proficient. And that's, as we all know, that's a big savings down the road. So this is a long time coming, and I know what you're saying, through you, Mr. Chairman, to Marconi. The thing is that we're not going to refuse children once they're in kindergarten, but the pre-K is something very special. And we do that here and have been doing it now for years with no fee. And to say it, it's not appreciated by everybody. And the thing is that people are taking advantage of us, and it's just not fair throughout the whole system. It's not fair to our budget, it's not fair to our teachers, it's not fair to the children themselves. So I think it's high time we do something. And as far as special needs, of course, there's not going to be any fees
That's
or
correct.
anything like
That's
that, correct?
That's
There
right.
was something else I think that you may have mentioned. And the other thing is, with children that have certain situations such as speech, PT, OT, about the drop-in program as an alternative, would you, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, if I could have Mr. Shaw go over that? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cadillo. We do have students that have, it's called ancillary services only, which are speech, occupational therapy, or physical therapy. According to the ED plan, those students, we can put those students on a 504 plan and meet their needs with drop-in services. We currently do that at our neighborhood schools so that the parent would be able to bring the child to their neighborhood school or to one of these two schools to get the services only. So they come in, they wouldn't spend the day, they get their services for speech, OT, or PT, and then pick the child back up again an hour later or half an hour later after those services are complete. That would be completely free of charge to be able to do. If the parent at one time wanted to register that child to come in for the half a day, over and above getting just that service, they will get those services, but they would be charged that entrance registration fee as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Parker.
So, just some quick math. First of all, we're not in this to charge a fee to make money. As my colleague, Mrs. Cadillo pointed out, it's the buy-in. In other words, to get the parent, the caregiver, the guardian that's shelling out the money to then increase decrease tidiness, decrease absenteeism. We talked a couple weeks ago, I gave you numbers as far as what our attendance rates are by school and by the high school. And it is now part of the accountability standards.
That's correct.
So therefore, we have to start at an early age of the discipline of being at school on time and attending. And that's on the parent. That's on the parent from the time they're 3 years old to the time they graduate. So some quick numbers. Let's compare this to Revere at $15 a day. Pre-K, 3, 2 days a week, 55 cents a day, we're asking. Pre-K, 3, 3 days a week, we're asking for 85 cents a day. Pre-K 4, for 5 days, is $1.40 per day. So here's Revere charging $75 a week for a pre-K 4 5-day program. We're asking for about, I don't know, $8 a week. I think it's fair, I think it's affordable, and I think it's a long time coming, because we've had this discussion before of some of the successes of the program, but also too, some of the failures, and attendance has been one of them. So I wholeheartedly support a move for this effort.
From the chair, I guess my question is, it sounds like this hasn't really been completely put together though yet in terms of, as Mr. Barrows pointed out, I mean, say there's, like next year, I know my grandson and one of my granddaughters, so I'll technically have 2 children in at the same time. So, I mean, there's potential, people having twins. I mean, you could have upwards of 2 or 3 children. I mean, I'm trying to understand, is there going to be a break? Is there going to, I mean, I'm thinking about this in terms of like how they do youth sports registration, where you get a break as you get on to each kid after that. So it sounds like, I mean, has this been all, is this going to be presented at some point? I mean, this is our last meeting. I mean, in writing where we can actually see what we're talking about. Again, I'm with Mr. Parker, Ms. Cadillo, Ms. Barrow. I think it's an excellent idea. I just am a little concerned that we don't have everything down here in black and white.
We can certainly do that for the beginning of the school year next year. I think bringing it up today was to give people enough information about it and having the conversation about whether or not we wanted, because the conversation's been had many times, and people did not want to charge, and we didn't want to charge, and we didn't want to look at that. We did, to answer your question, we did look at multiple people from the same family and providing like a 30 or 40%, 50% discount for the second child or the third child from the same household, so as not to unduly burden that same family that has multiple children in the preschool. So we have looked at those. We didn't put projections down or the policies down until I thought the board would want to look at this and make a decision based on this. And we can certainly say that we're going to put some kind of fee structure in place in September, whether it's $200 or $250 at whatever the will of the committee is. And we can certainly do that at the beginning of the meeting, at the beginning of the year, next year. If you're going to be in favor of charging for it, I'd like to get the word out to the parents now so that they be able to have that opportunity to be able to save up before the school year begins. So we don't want to hit someone with a fee in September that they didn't know was coming.
Yeah.
Mr. Barros.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move, although Mr. Parker had moved, but I would be in favor of approving charging, but I would like the administration to bring back, as the chair mentioned, a proposal. Like this would be $200 makes sense, a fee structure in order for us to give the final approval regarding the fee itself.
Right.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Ms. Cadella.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to say, did Mr. Parker, you did move this, right?
I don't remember.
No, I don't think we've got a
I thought he
motion
might
yet.
have said he moved.
That's, yeah.
I thought I heard that, but okay. Yes, I don't think he did that. I thought, okay, we thought
That's
he
because I
heard.
mumble.
He said, I'm sorry, mumble. Okay. No, I agree. There should be a fee structure. There's not one just yet. This was basically for discussion, and I think we're a little late in the year for doing this. Too bad it wasn't a meeting ago. But we need to get something out there before the registrations begin, so that when they register, before they register, that we know we have some kind of a fee structure. Now, if this means, I know we're going to have contract negotiation meetings this summer, if we have to have a special meeting of the school committee just prior to that to solidify this in writing, I think that might be a way to go with it, so that we have it before school begins. I think that's very important. The other thing is, no one mentioned Chelsea, but I think Chelsea's like $16 a day, isn't it?
Oh, I didn't
Something
put
like
them
that.
on.
Yeah, right. So, our colleague, Mr. Parker, broke it down nicely as to how much that's actually in. Just to give an example, a normal dance class, which lasts 1 hour, is $45 a week. So we're not trying to hurt anybody. But when you pay $45 for that hour every week, you're going to make sure your son or daughter goes to that class. So it's the same thing if you're paying $200, $250, $225, whatever it is. It means more. You know, it's an investment now. And you can teach your child the discipline of going to school, because once they get into kindergarten, you want them to be there every day for the learning purposes of it, as well as the social. And the other day, Mr. Chairman, when I was talking to Mr. Shaw about this, we talked about the discount on a second child. Even though we're not asking a lot of money per child, somebody has twins, they could have a third child also. So it could happen, and so that's another consideration. So I will move that we go ahead and give it to the administration to continue to work. I have asked a lot of people. I have been talking this up for over a year and asking people in the administration, as well as teachers, paraprofessionals. I have asked numerous parents, and people that are serious about their children's education are willing. They said that's like such a nominal fee. And that's where the dance class thing came up. Said, I pay $45 a week for my 3-year-old to go to dance. So I would never say $250 a year would be too much to send them to school all year. So I don't know, how should we do a motion on this, just to give the charge of coming up with?
So here's a thought. Let me throw this out, right? So here it is, it's June. I really don't want to leave tonight without some type of fee structure in place, because I don't want to surprise the parents. So my thought at this time is, let's do a one-year introductory offer of, say, 50% of what Mr. Shaw described. $50, $75, $125 for the upcoming school year only. So therefore, we've got an amount, we can tell the parents now, but then over the course of the next 8-9 months, we come up with a real fee structure, an ideal fee structure that addresses certain things as, multiple family members. If there's multiple family members that go into the same school, I can imagine just like one fee, since if you get one kid there, you need to get the second one there. So that's something to think about. We make a motion tonight at a reduced fee structure to get the program in place, to get people acclimated to it. So, something to think about.
My question.
Mr. LaMonica.
Thank you. My question would be, if a parent signs a student up for a 2-day program, do they get to pick the 2 days, or are we going to tell them which 2 days and which 3 days they come?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Shaw.
The programs in all the neighboring communities and the research that we did, most of the 3-day-a-week programs run Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. There was one, I believe there was one community that did a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
But that's also something that we should get.
It would
into
be
the
structured, it would have to be structured like that. You'd go on the days that you were assigned. You couldn't pick various days for enrollment, because what we have to be very cautious of is that we have a lot of students. Like I said, there's 72 students for special education. So we have to be very cognizant of, with special education, you have to have as many students in special education in a classroom as you have in general education in a classroom. So what happens if you afford people the luxury of being able to do that, sometimes you tip the balance of those scales, so you have to be very cautious of that.
Thank you.
So where are we? Mr. Park, was that a motion?
Oh, I did not make a motion.
You don't want to make the
I
motion?
said something to think about.
Something to think about. Mr. D'Onofrio.
We can't leave it. We have to make some type of motion. I could agree to the 1 year,
I don't want that half-price.
but
No, absolutely.
Well, we're either going to make the motion
That's it.
with the fee in place, or,
that, at
as
this,
Ms. Cardello stated, if this gets put together, we can call a special meeting. I don't know what's the pleasure of the
that
board.
sounds better.
The superintendent has,
Ms. Gauthier.
So what if we had ample time to put this in place? This is the last meeting.
Correct.
We don't want to rush through something as important as this.
Right.
So if we went the first half of the year without a fee, and then come January, I don't know, I'm just trying to throw out an alternative that will get us to,
Mr.
put this
Chair.
together more thoroughly. I don't know.
Parker.
One question, when does enrollment start?
Right now, we
It's,
suspended enrollment for pre-K 3 and pre-K 4 because we weren't sure what we were doing with the kindergarten students coming across the hall
Yeah.
So I did not open up registration for pre-K 3 and 4 yet until we had this discussion today.
Okay, so with that, I'm going to make a motion that we refer the matter to administration and staff to come up with a fee schedule.
had a question.
And once that gets established, let's call a special meeting to
That's it.
approve it.
Okay.
And I
we'll
will
do that as soon as-
second that. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay, so motions are made and seconded to refer this matter to administration to come up with basically a plan in terms of the enrollment and registration fee for preschool. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So, Mr. Panarisi, did you have that?
That's what I was going to suggest.
Okay. Item number 6, request permission for the chairman to sign the following memorandum of agreements with the following bargaining units: Administrators Association, Everett Teachers Association, Paraprofessional Unit, Everett Teachers Association, Secretary Unit, SEIU Local 888, Custodians.
Move favorable action.
I think Bernie has to pull it out.
If I may, I was going to ask to take out of order Roman numeral number 4, which are the subcommittee reports, and then present it to you folks. And that's what we should be doing, actually, before we make a motion on this, and I'll be brief on it.
So motion is made and seconded to take Roman numeral 4, the subcommittee reports
Exactly.
on contract negotiations, out of order. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. The floor is yours, Mr. D'Onofrio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, meeting of the Committee on Contract Negotiations from Tuesday, May 28th, 2019 was held here at the Everett High School Library. We had a quorum. Many discussions on the negotiations were held, and it was voted to meet again on June 10th. And on June 10th, we had a quorum. Let me get my papers in order here. At the administration building, the various groups met to accept the proposals made. And members, Eler and myself were present. We had a quorum. The subcommittee agreed to recommend to the full board the approval of the following bargaining units: the Administrations Association, Everett Teachers Association, Paraprofessional Unit, Everett Teachers Association Secretary Unit, and the SEIU Local 888 Custodians. So I would like to entertain a motion to accept and approve.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded to accept and approve the agreements as stated by Mr. D'Onofrio. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
At this point, I'd like to make a motion to return to the regular order of business, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Abruzzese.
Are you a second?
Second motion?
Motion made and seconded to return to the regular order of business. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
I'm requesting to take items 7 through 14 collectively and move for favorable action.
Vote those.
Item number 7, request to...
Hold a second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to take items 7 through 14 and move favorable action. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Item number...
Mr.
I think we
McLaughlin.
have to vote to accept those contracts. We voted the minutes of the meeting, but we did not vote to accept the contracts. And I also move.
Do we need a roll call vote on that?
I don't know if we need a roll call vote.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion is made and
Go back
seconded
and I'll
to
second.
accept the contracts with the Administrators Associations, Everett Teachers Association Paraprofessional Unit, Everett Teachers Association Secretary Unit, and the
Accept and
SEIU
approve.
Local 888 Custodians to accept and approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Now we're going to
Thank you.
7 to 14, and go ahead, Ms. Scarpia.
Item number 7 is the request to roll over the following contracts: the audio system equipment rental, North Suburban Transportation. Item number 8, summer work update: paint the Madeline English and Albert N. Parlin schools, repave the parking lot at the Albert N. Parlin School, repair damaged exterior wall at the Lafayette School, refinish gym floors at Madeline English, George Cavarian, Lafayette Schools, and Everett High School, replace boilers at the Webster School, replace 2 chillers at Everett High School, replace the heating and air conditioning in the gymnasium at the Sumner G. Whittier School, renovate the library and teacher's lounge at Everett High School for additional space to accommodate the CTE classrooms. Item number 9, request permission to discard the following items: wrestling mats at the old high school at 548 Broadway, 18 old damaged desks at the Sumner G. Whittier School. Item number 10 is the request to advertise for academy lead teacher positions. Number 11, request to apply for eligibility to the Northeast Conference for the following: Ms. Turner, Athletic Director; Mr. Norman, Head Hockey Coach; Ms. Sabrina Colosimo, Head Coach Field Hockey; Ms. Mendez, Head Coach Soccer, for 8th grade boys and girls to participate on the junior varsity hockey team. For grade 8 girls to play junior varsity soccer. For grade 8 girls to play junior varsity field hockey. Item number 12 is a reminder about the moving on ceremonies. Madeline English School, Tuesday, June 18th at 9 a.m. George Kavarian School, Tuesday, June 18th at 10:30. Sumner G. Whittier, Tuesday, June 18th at 12:30. A reminder, item number 13, the last day for students, and there's a typo on this agenda. Preschool is Tuesday, that would be today, tomorrow. Kindergarten tomorrow, and grades 1 through 11 Wednesday, June 19th, noon dismissal. Item number 14, minutes of the following school council meetings. Madeline English School from May 29th, 2019. Sumner G. Whittier School from June 5th, 2019.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, I had a question myself. Mr. Parker?
Well, I also have a question, too. On item number 11, it says eligibility for the Northeast Conference.
Right, that was my question.
You know, we had the presentation from Mrs. Turner 2 weeks ago about the GBL. Can you just explain?
I don't have that information.
We'll still be playing some sports in the Northeast Conference, so we're going to play in those games in the Northeast Conference to fill the schedules, I believe.
All right.
Is what Mr. Turner gave us the information about. So we are going GBL, but we need the permission to go to the Northeast Conference for those teams to fill those schedules for next year.
Right, because originally they voted, when they voted the GBL teams out, it would have been for within a 2-year period.
Correct.
We decided just to jumpstart and pull the GBL.
Correct.
Okay.
And if I could make a comment on number 14, the school council minutes of the Sumner G. Whittier School. After 5 years, they finally got the bus stop moved.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, a lot of persistence, and now for the fall, we need to find them a crossing guard.
Correct.
So,
That's the next step.
kudos to the Whittier School Council.
They haven't, just to clarify, they didn't actually physically move the shelter for the bus stop down yet, so we've moved temporarily the bus stop down, and we put
Right.
signage out there, and it's working out great so far, according to Mr. Brady, so we're working on the next phase of that, as well as the crossing guard for next year.
Were there other questions?
Everybody else is satisfied with everything else, right? Roman numeral 3, items submitted by school committee members.
Are you going to let me say something?
I figured it'd be after this, or you want to speak
No,
of it first?
that's fine.
Okay. First item, Mr. Parker.
Actually, at this time, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'd like to waive the rules and take the following item out of order, bring it to the table for a vote, which is the report on the Committee on Student Activities of June 17, 2019.
A motion is made and seconded to take out of order the Committee on Student Activities from tonight at 5:45. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
So there was a subcommittee meeting tonight on student activities was held tonight, and there was a motion made to accept Chapter 71, Section 38 regarding student advisory committees.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to accept the committee report as read, place on file.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded to accept, and accept this just the way, this is student advisory committees. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
And with that, move that, no, we're good, never mind.
Oh,
The motion is made,
That's
motion is made to revert back to the regular order of business.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to revert back to the regular order of business. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Second item, presented by Mr. Barrow.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Sorry.
Mr. Parker.
So, again, as we accept the report, now it's before us as the first bullet on the items submitted by the school committee members.
So now it's before us.
Right.
Okay.
So what's before us is the Everett School Committee accepts Mass General Laws, Chapter 71, Section 38M, regarding student advisory committees. So just to recap real quick, Chapter 71, 38M basically says that we would have a student representative who would act as a ex officio member at the regular school committee meetings. They'd be able to participate in debate, ask questions, possibly submit reports, but they would not be able to vote. And the committee on student activities would recommend this out favorably. And with that, I move favorable action.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to accept under Title 12, Chapter 71, Section 38M, this Student Advisory Committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Let's have it. Question, Mr. Parker.
Yeah,
In terms of executive session, how does that play?
they do not participate.
Very simple. Thank you.
Good question, Mr. Chairman.
Well, just, we never used to have executive session meetings. Now, we have plenty of them. Now, second item, item submitted by school committee members. Now, Mr. Barros.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This past week, we went to our graduation, which was a beautiful event. And Superintendent Gautier mentioned to all of those almost 500 students that they go on to their next step in their lives, but come back to Everett and give back to the community that gave them so much. So tonight, I have the pleasure of, and I asked the committee if they could come in before us to present a project that two students who graduated from Everett High, Azeb Freitas, who is a 2013 graduate of Everett High, and Faith Pinho, who is a 2014 graduate of Everett High, which one of them is a journalist and went to California, and she actually flew from California to come to present to us this amazing project called Crimson Community. It's a mentorship program that they would like to bring to the Everett Public Schools, especially to Everett High School, where they would pair mentors with our students, especially those students who, you know, their family members are busy and they need mentors. So if I may, I would make the motion to bring those students so they can give a brief presentation to us regarding their project.
Second.
Actually, can we amend that to adults, because they're no longer students?
I think they're graduates now, Mr. Barros.
Yes. In fact, I might be their age.
So motion's been made and
Those two
seconded.
professionals.
Yes.
Yes. Motion is made and seconded
to
to
come.
bring Ms. Pino and Ms. Freitas forward. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, ayes have it. Please, ladies, come forward.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, while the young professionals come before us, I just want to recognize Mr. Norman's job and work that he did for graduation. Not that I was timing him, but he read off 495 names in 37 minutes, 42 seconds.
Very good. Very good, absolutely.
He's always going to have a job as an auctioneer.
Mr. Norman's got down to sort of an art form now.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you for coming.
Yes.
Thank you. No task.
Hello, you grown-ups.
Okay, does everybody have a little packet?
Yep.
Okay, great.
I believe we all have a packet. Yes. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. I am Azeb Freitas. As Mr. Barros said earlier, I graduated from Everett High School in 2013, and I graduated from Simmons College in 2017 with a degree in business management. So I am here today speaking to you as one of the co-founders of the Crimson Community Mentorship Program. Now I'm going to let my colleague Faith introduce herself as well.
Hello, good evening, everyone. It's great to see everyone again because I think I went to school with half of your kids, Haley and Brett and Joe. I'm Faith Pinho. I graduated here in 2014. I went on to study journalism and politics at Washington and Lee University in Virginia. That was last year, and since then I've moved to Los Angeles, where I work as a journalist for a community newspaper of the LA Times, and I'm also co-founder of the Crimson Community Mentorship Program.
Great. So now we're going to get into kind of the inspiration of where the mentorship program came from. So when I was graduating college, I was realizing, a lot of my colleagues that I'm graduating with can really rely on their familial networks to get a job. And for me, that wasn't really the case. So when I came back to Everett, I was finding that a lot of my friends that I graduated with were also going through the same kind of struggle. And one thing that helped me get my current job is through a mentorship that I had in college with my professor. But it just showed me the strength in numbers of having a network and how that can really help you. And a lot of, again, colleagues that I graduated from here, Everett High School, were interested in finding a way to get back connected to the community, but don't really feel like there's an outlet for that. So I noticed this need, and I reached out to my friend Faith, and we decided that a mentorship would probably be a good outlet for that to happen. Am I missing anything there in the vision?
What we're here to do.
Oh, yeah. So the reason why we're here today, other than to bring awareness of the program, is to get some feedback from all of you and to also establish a relationship with the core of the Everett Public School System. So I'm going to pass it over to Faith so she can talk about the program in more depth.
So the Crimson community, as Azab said, the mission is really to connect Everett community members with Everett High School students. We really believe that growing up in Everett is a really unique, special experience, and so we're passionate about bringing those community members and plugging them back into the community where they came from to help the Everett High School students. So our mission is to connect Everett community members with Everett High School students, to help the students identify their potential, and then to give them a network, give them a community to succeed once they've graduated from Everett High School and kind of come out of the teachers and administrators that have guided them up through graduation. So the way that this would work is we would ask the mentors and mentees to meet once a month in person, and then to connect about once a week through text or a call or FaceTime, something like that. And the real focus here is on relationships. So we have a curriculum that we've designed. It's in your packets that we've handed out that will guide the monthly meetings, but really the emphasis is on building relationships between the community members and having them nurture a relationship with the mentees. We would also hold quarterly community meetups with the entire Crimson community, so all mentors, all mentees, about once a quarter. This could take the form of a community service day or a financial workshop, something like that, where everyone can come together. And yeah, Azab will tell you about what we've gotten to, how we've gotten to this point.
So we started doing the actual grunt work of all of this back in October of 2018, which feels so far away now. And a lot of our research, obviously, we did a lot of reading. We spoke with between 20 and 25 professionals who are in the field of mentoring and working with high school students. We've surveyed students who have graduated recently and beyond, and we've also spoken with community members. One statistic from our surveys and focus groups that we gathered was that 97% of people who graduated from EHS stated that they have not had a mentor, and 77% of them have mentioned that if they had this program while they were in high school, they would have tried to be a participant.
This is from about 100 people whom we surveyed, by the way, recent Everett High School alums.
From February to May, we did more work regarding curriculum research and actually designing the curriculum, creating the applications, speaking with lawyers on how to have the correct policies and guidelines of how to go about working with Everett, or just high school students as a working professional. And over the summer, we hope to continue finalizing all these documents, creating our training program for the mentors so they know how to interact with students. And also in the fall, we would be opening applications, trying to recruit members of the community to become mentors, and also hope to recruit students here to be mentees. And then we would like to launch our pilot program that would be 6 months long, starting in January 2020 and would run through June. So I think that's all I've got. Do you have anything else to add to that I missed?
Basically, just the pilot program, we want to keep it small and tight so that we know what's going on. So we're planning to have between 10 to 15 mentorship pairs from January to June. And as that's going on, we'll be kind of closely monitoring how it's going on, checking in with the mentors regularly. And then come next summer, we'll be reviewing everything that we learned from them, and then hopefully opening it up in next fall. So As Azab said, what we're really here today to do is just to meet everyone, again, in some cases, and establish a relationship with the school administration. We anticipate we'll be coming back probably later in the summer or coming into the school year about some specific requests, like how to work out background checks and query checks for the mentors. Hopefully we can figure out how to do that through the school. And also, at some point next year, we would love to use your beautiful Crimson Cafe for one of our quarterly meetups. That'd be wonderful. Right now, the one kind of specific request that we just have, in addition to meeting all of you, is we would love to have a point person in the school administration whom, if problems arise in mentorship pairs, we could have someone we could touch base with at the school. Like, for example, if a mentee reveals in conversing with a mentor that she's experiencing abuse at home or something, we would have a mandatory reporter. We'd want to make sure we have someone in the school system that we tell to, just so everyone's on the same page. But that's basically it. Thank you so much for having us tonight, and we welcome any feedback, comments, questions that you all have.
Mr. Barrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, thank you, the two of you, for this initiative. Is just terrific. When you first approached me, I asked you to send that one page explaining what the project was. I was really happy when I read that. So thank you for coming, presenting to us. Unless my colleagues have questions, I would make a motion to refer the two of you to meet with the superintendent, who can then discuss more how the school can assist and appoint this person that you just mentioned, who would be the contact with you guys on this project.
I'll second that and Mr. Park, oh, good, we're good.
This motion is made and seconded to have these young ladies refer them to meet with Ms. Gauthier to for them to decide on who the point person will be in the administration. But other than that,
We're good.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the
Thank you, folks.
presentation.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad you gave us this. Because this fully explains everything.
Subcommittee report. Committee on Finance from tonight. Mr. Parker?
Mr. Chairman, the Committee on Finance met tonight on June 17th. I'd like to accept the minutes as written and placed on file.
Second that.
Motion been made and seconded to accept the minutes as written from the Finance meeting tonight and place on file. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to accept bills and payrolls in the amount of $704,659.12.
And I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded to accept bills and payrolls in the amount of $704,659.12. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
And, Mr. Chairman, lastly, I'll make a motion to pay bills and payrolls in the amount of $704,659.12. Roll call vote, please.
Did we have a second on that?
Yes. I second that.
Motion made and seconded to pay bills and payrolls in the amount of $704,659.12. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 He's gone.
Yes.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, 0 in negative, motion passes. I believe we have new business. Prior to new business, Ms. Gauthier,
Yes.
you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. I just want to explain a little bit about my oversight at graduation. I got kind of nervous after I couldn't remember which college I went to. And everybody was screaming in the background, but I got kind of flustered. I meant to recognize the school committee, and my plan was to have everybody stand and be recognized. So for my oversight, I truly apologize, because I can't even remember if I mentioned the school committee.
I can't remember either.
I just turned the page and that was it. So I just wanted to get that out. I have a few other things, and I'm not one really to self-promote, but I just want you to know how much I truly appreciate the experience that I've had working with all of you since December. Let's see, I did my graduation oversight. I have about 4 things, so just bear with me. I have really, with Mr. Shaw and Mr. Abramsky, we've really tried to change the culture and the climate in the district a little bit. We have done a lot of work on the website and also on Facebook. We have more candid shots than ever, and I think that gives the true flavor of what's really going on in the classrooms. So I really want to acknowledge all the support that I've been given. With a lot of the programs, you see now the discussion tonight for the pre-K program. We're really trying to examine different programs in the district and see how we can have them run a little more efficiently. So we're always looking for ways to improve. I've heard from a lot of you on your thoughts and ideas on different things, so please keep your ideas coming. We welcome them, and we'll work on them. Let's see, we are interviewing an HR director this Thursday and Friday. We have 4 candidates. I don't know, we'll see how it goes, but I will send you an email and let you know what that decision is.
Excellent.
I'm getting there. I just have to figure out what goes on here. This process is too formal for me, but anyway. Okay, so lastly, we have arranged together an Administrators Institute, and these are some of the topics. We have Children of Trauma. It's a 3-hour workshop by Middlesex Partnership DA office. We're spending 2 days on data analysis for administrators so that they can write their school improvement plans and start thinking about that rather than waiting until the fall. We have a harassment workshop on harassment by Paige Tobin. She's an attorney. We have Rob Mareshi, the procurement officer, is going to review the process for orders. And then on Friday, I took the liberty of getting us out of the schools. We're going to Envisions from 8 to 2, and we're going to have a little retreat, and everybody's no ties, no jackets for the gentlemen. We're trying to relax a little bit. So I think that's our one day where we can do that. And during that day, my plan is to work on communication and relationship building, because we have different layers of administration. You have principals, assistants, then you have directors who are content specialists. Sometimes people step all over each other. So we want to clarify that and have them meet and discuss ways they can improve the way they talk, the way they work together, and the way we can plan for success. So I'm trying to be a little proactive. Any one of you is welcome to come down. We're having coffee at 10 o'clock. So if you're in the area and you want to come down, please do so. See us hard at work. We will be working the whole time. So that's it. I just wanted to let you know.
Mr. Governor, you have to do the contract for Arima.
No, we're going to do that. That's under new business. We're gonna do all that.
I'm old business.
Oh, you're old business.
I'm old business. That was new.
Very good initiatives.
Very nice.
New business. I see communication from Deborah Nealon Keegan, the Executive Director for Kids Only.
Yes, she wanted to thank the committee for funding her program.
So that's for
$135,000, so
$135,000
it's
to
a
the
letter of
FKO.
appreciation. She also sent me a list of activities they have over the next couple of weeks, and I forgot to include that. I will email that to everybody tomorrow.
Also under new business, permission to extend the contract with Aramark for a 1-month period from July 1st to July 31st, 2019.
Right. They provide the food for our summer program, so without them, we have kids and no food, and that doesn't work. So we're requesting permission to extend that contract so we can provide lunches for the kids.
Have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to extend the contract with Aramark from 1 month from July 1st to July 31st, 2019. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Parker?
And Mr. Chairman, what this does is it provides us more of an opportunity to continue our services while the finality of the food service contract gets resolved, gets awarded.
Yeah.
So that's the reason for the 30 days.
So I guess my question is, what happens after July 31st?
We probably ask for 30 more, if the contract's not awarded at that point.
And so on and so forth, yes.
So,
All right, so that motion passes. Third item on the new business is permission to advertise the position of principal kindergarten to grade 8.
My successor as curriculum director is Michelle Crowell, and she's currently the principal of the Parlin School. So she will be moving, so I'd like to advertise to fill her spot.
move favorable action.
Second.
Motion made and seconded for favorable action on, to advertise for the position principal K through 8. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. I have a question, and never asked this before, but is this the type of thing, I mean, basically, all our principals, they're basically sort of at will of the superintendent, correct?
Some have contracts
They're-
of varying
Some have
lengths.
contracts?
All the principals have a contract, and they vary in length of the contract. But all principals have a contract from, I think it's 1 year to 3 years, I believe, that the principal's contracts are for.
From the chair, at some point in time, could we have all those contracts made available to the school committee?
Certainly.
Good idea.
That's something I know myself I'm completely unaware of. And,
Yeah, it's a great
mean-
idea, Mr. Chairman.
I mean, I believe, see, my understanding, and again, I was wrong, I've just been corrected, but my understanding was that all principals basically are at the will of the superintendent, and they could change from year to year, so I would assume that every single year we sort of were advertising for principals. Personally, I think it's a bad idea to be sort of, you know, again, I always draw sports analogies, but to sort of just rehashing the same people sometimes might be a good idea to start seeking out new blood, but again, that's just my opinion. So,
Okay, you'll have it tomorrow.
motion
Do
was
we,
made.
go ahead. No, well, Mr. Parker, go ahead.
I just want to make sure before that any contracts are passed out, that in our capacity, we're privy to see them.
Right.
All right, with the clear suggestion that there have been contracts passed out that we have not seen.
Understood. But, you know, in this new day and age of,
Well, no, I just want to make sure the public realizes that I'm guessing there are a lot of contracts that we don't know anything about.
agreed, but I just want to make sure that it's within the scope of our duties and responsibilities as school committee people that we can see these, where it's basically, you know, a contract. If it's a contract that's just between the superintendent of schools and that person, that's one thing, right? But if it's a contract between the school committee, the superintendent of schools, and that person,
Well,
of
while
course we
we're-
can see those.
Well, while we're on this issue, if I may, from the chair, how about vice principals? They have contracts?
Vice principals traditionally have had contracts, individual contracts as well. Upon the advice of Attorney Galvin recently, when we were looking to renew some of those, he said they were unnecessary as they are being represented, vice principals are being represented by the Administrators Association, for whom you just passed a contract a little while ago. By law, the principals cannot be represented by any association. They have to have their own individual contract, but vice principals can group together. So according to Attorney Galvin, he recommended that we don't continue to offer individual contracts to vice principals, but because they're covered under the Administrators Association contract.
Directors have contracts?
They would have fallen in the same category, but once again, they fall into that administrators association, so upon his advice that they would not have contracts.
All right, so the contracts that are presently in place, they're just going to run out? Is that what-
His advice is to let them lapse and not renew them, and they just fall under the purview of those.
So is that are they all the same, the 1 to 3 years like the principals were?
I have to look at them. I haven't looked at all of those, but I would suggest that the language in the contracts for all of those people that we're talking about is extremely similar, and the length of time would be similar, depending upon 1 to 3 years, I believe they were.
Okay, from the chair, I'd like to see every individual contract that we have. I'd like the school committee to be privy to every single contract that we have. You know, this is our last meeting, but I think it's something we should be aware of. Mr.
All
D'Onofrio?
right, so I agree with you folks. Do we have to put that into a motion and have it seconded that we get a copy of all? I believe when I was chairman, we did the same thing, and I will make the motion, because when I was chairman, I made the motion on other contracts. So let's make a motion to get all those contracts present and given to Mr. Abruzzi, our chairman, and then he can distribute them to us individually or collectively.
Second? Motion made and seconded to have all the contracts that we have here in the Everett Public Schools made available to me.
And then with, we can present it to our attorney.
Right.
I'm sorry
And
about
I'll
that.
make sure that.
And
everyone
I
gets
know
it.
it. Thank you.
Ms.
Motion,
Goodell.
I have a question. I heard it, now I forgot it. Mr. Shaw, what unit do they fall under as far as Mr. Galvin saying they don't really need a contract because they're under what?
The Administrators
The
Association.
Administrators Association.
Right.
Okay, and that's for principals?
Not principals, assistant principals, directors, the director of special education, the director of curriculum would fall under that.
But it's always been a contract in the past.
Traditionally, as far as I know, it's always been a contract in the past.
Has this been discussed with them at all, as to how they feel about not having a contract and just
No,
being
we were going by Attorney Galvin's advice when we were coming up on contracts that needed to be, that were running out. His advice was they don't need contracts because they fall under the Administrators Association.
And that would protect them similarly to having a contract?
I couldn't speak legally to how that can protect them. We'd have to talk, maybe we'd have to have Attorney Galvin in to talk to us in regards to that.
Well,
Thank you.
my guess would be they're part of basically a bargaining unit, so
Yeah,
whereas the principals
a
aren't.
non-union
Right.
representation, right. And so I'm wondering how much protection they actually have
Right.
without a written contract.
Now-
That's my question.
Now, having said that, and I apologize for having all this stuff come up, but like the Human Resource Director position, is there a plan? I mean, I know the past person had a contract with us. What is the plan for the Human Resource Director?
It's my understanding that we hire that person. However, I'm full willing to have anybody here involved in an interview.
Oh, no.
But I
I'm just talking in terms of the contractual
Right, right.
nature of that.
It's-
Yes,
it
Mr.
was
Shaw.
It's my belief that that position would, as a director, would fall under the Administrators Association contract as well. That's just my opinion. Once again, I can talk to Attorney Galvin
Yes.
to render his opinion as well.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Barrows.
if I may, could you please, on behalf of the committee, then, as soon as you receive these contracts, talk to Attorney Galvin yourselves, clarify all of these, and then just let us, the fellow
Absolutely.
members, know?
Absolutely,
That's why I added
Actually, was my
Attorney
plan.
Galvin in
Okay,
there.
thank you.
Afterwards. So we have a motion and
Oh, that's right. A motion was made and seconded to have all the contracts made, the administration make the contracts available to me, and I'll discuss with Mr. Galvin and ultimately turn them over to the entire committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Last item under new business, the acceptance of the fiscal year 2020 Coordinated Family and Community Engagement Grant.
So that grant is for $47,690. It's to increase parent engagement for preschool children. There is a salary that goes to the coordinator. The rest of the money goes on supplies and materials for the groups and events for the parents. They also complete early screening. The program is held at the English school currently, and there are play groups there, maybe 3 or 4 times during the week.
We need a motion on that, Mr. Packer?
Okay, so basically, this is the program that's been in place. It's gone...
Was it the Devons?
The Devons, okay.
Right.
Okay, so it's...
This is the last year of it, too.
Right, so it's nothing new?
No.
We've been participating for years?
Correct.
Okay, great. And that person is already in place?
Yes.
Right, okay. I'll move favorable action.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to accept the fiscal year 2020 Coordinated Family and Community Engagement Grant. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Motion to adjourn.
Prior to adjournment, just on behalf of the entire school committee, please have a happy, healthy, safe summer, everyone. And from the chair, it's been an interesting 6 months, and the best is yet to come, believe me. So, motion made and seconded for adjournment. All those in favor? Go ahead, Mrs. Gauthier.
Told you I have to get...
Yeah, I hear you. Go ahead.
I'm also encouraging the administrators to participate in the focus groups for electing the new superintendent, and I did forget to mention
Absolutely.
that.
We've actually got
I wanted you to know that.
focus group. The first one is scheduled for June 25th, Mr. Parker?
Thank you for the lead-in. So, as part of the search for a permanent superintendent, I'm not going to say new, like the term permanent, the first public forum will be held at the Poundland Library, Tuesday, June 25th, from 6 to 8:30 at the Poundland Library Community Room on the basement floor. So the Mass Association of School Committees will be hosting and facilitating this meeting with the public. So the general public's invited to this meeting. There'll be a series of them leading up to September when we move on to the focus groups. This is, I posted on social media. I've been in contact with the Independent, the Advocate, and the Leader Herald. They've all agreed to run something this week. I was also in contact with ECTV. Unfortunately, they cannot run a bulletin because they're installing new service, or else we would have their full cooperation either. So June 25th, 6 o'clock to 8:30, Poundland Library. Your voice is important. This is part of the public participation process, and we look forward to seeing a packed house.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Barrows.
On that note, perhaps Mr. Parker or I can reach out to the Mass Association School Committee and ask about interpretation, as 68% of our students speak English as a second language, so for their and as a bilingual person. So I think it's important that we have at least the 3 or 4 major language interpreters available. I can even volunteer myself to do Portuguese, English translation, but I think it's important. So I reach out to them as Mass Association School.
Honestly, I think we leave them out of this part of the portion and work with the administration, the student ambassadors, and get us a couple more.
Sure.
I nominate you.
I will reach out to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so motion was made and seconded for adjournment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned.